This is San Diego, Southern California. Early 1995 and the deep waters of the Pacific Ocean were the focus of attention as syndicates from around the world gathered, vying for the right to challenge the Americans for the oldest trophy in sport, the America's Cup. The old mug had been resident in San Diego since Dennis Conner's dramatic victory off the coast of Western Australia in 1987. Each of the 7 Challenger crews competing for the Louis Vuitton Cup included many America's Cup veterans. Team New Zealand has 2 boats and some of that country's best sailors.
Russell Coutts, top match racer and Olympic gold medalist, is the skipper, while Peter Blake, the great offshore yachtsman, is syndicate chief. John Bertrand, who won the America's Cup for Australia in 1983, has returned to skipper One Australia. Bertrand, a national hero, has Rod Davis as helmsman. Davis has America Cup experience with American and New Zealand crews previously. One of the world's most successful and experienced match racers, Chris Dixon, is skipper of NZL 39 or the Tag Heuer Challenge. Their one yacht is designed by Bruce Farr, while tactician is the talented Peter Lester, coach to Spain in 1992. The Spaniards sail under skipper Pedro Campos, who led Spain's first America's Cup bid in 1992. France again have Marc Pajot at the wheel. He's been there twice before, with world match race champion Bertrand Passet as starting helmsman. The Nippon Challenge reached the semi-finals in 1992. They have one of the best financed campaigns and Olympic medalist John Cutler of New Zealand at the helm. Skipper is Makoto Namba, top Japanese navigator. America's Cup veteran Sid Fisher is back again with Sydney 95. Fisher has entered every cup since 1983.
The first of 4 round robins gave the crews the chance to find out just how fast their boats were. Team New Zealand's first real test came on day 2.
Now the New Zealanders looking good. On starboard, out to the right-hand side. Whoa! Their mainsail's gone. Look at the crew running around on deck. There's a problem there. Well, could it be a broken main sheet? Could it be a broken block? They're going to have to fix it quickly to stay on the race. Coming to the top mark, the New Zealanders in front. After an excellent recovery from the problems they had, it appears, with a broken main sheet block. Great improvisation by the Kiwis. Excellent Kiwi ingenuity. And it's enabled them to hold the lead as they come to the end of this first beat to windward in pretty rugged conditions.
But problems with the spinnaker pole on the French boat allowed Team New Zealand to run away with the race for their second win. Meanwhile, Chris Dixon's team were facing Nippon in their opening race of the regatta.
So there's the start to Tag Heuer up against Nippon, out at the pin end of the line. Dixon on the helm with tactics being called by Peter Lester, doing a super job, much better boat speed as Nippon is moving over towards the committee boat. So this is the first race for Tag Heuer, a much awaited event. Here's the top mark, but they've let the spinnaker go too early. Wow, the crew work is just a little too aggressive there. And now they've got problems. They've got to reel that in before they can hoist it.
Despite first race jitters, Chris Dixon and his crew held off Nippon around the course.
On the last leg, conditions rather like Fremantle, as these big America's Cup boats are riding the surf towards the finish. And coming to the finish in their first race, the gun to Chris Dixon and his team aboard Tag.
The highlight of round robin 1 was the showdown between the 2 Kiwi syndicates.
So this is NZL 38. with Russell Coutts on the helm. What a lineup of talent in both of these crews. Two outstanding helmsmen. So in this early exchange, it does seem as though NZL 38 is eking out, tweaking out an advantage down to Leeuwarden ahead. It's been a very good beat for NZL 38. And in 5 to 7 knots, Coutts and friends in front. This is Dean Phipps, and behind him, Joey Allen up on the bows. They galvanise into action.
Put Kevin up on the other halyard.
So there's a problem there aboard tag, and Chris Dixon is telling his crew that he wants Kevin Batten to go up. Clearly there's a problem because they can't set the Jenica. You can see it lying limp in the sausage. As now Kevin Batten has gone up the mast. He's well over 100 feet off the deck, and they're losing a lot of vital time to their rival NZL 38.
But things were soon to get much worse aboard Tag Heuer.
Oh, Stephen Cotton out to the left. Something's happened to him. Look, he's doubled over. He's injured. Something's happened. Kelvin Harrop there has run back behind him. Kelvin Harrop's come to his aid. Something's happened to Stephen Cotton. Something's happened to his hand. Look, he's holding his hand.
Come in, please.
So this is the tag chase boat.
Come in. Come in.
Whoops, they're handing bits of finger across. Goodness, Stephen Cotton's really been injured.
Straight into San Diego. You've got a telephone. He's got a hospital.
Meanwhile, the racing goes on. And this is the end of the first match, the Battle of the Australians. And it's One Australia, skippered by John Bertrand with Rod Davis on the helm. Australia 31 takes the first match, but just 100 metres in front of winner of the second match, who started 10 minutes behind them, NZL 38, wins the first ever Battle of the Kiwis in America's Cup competition.
Tag soon recovered from their loss to Black Magic to finish round robin 1 in second place, 1 point behind Russell Coutts' unbeaten team. Now, while the challengers were being put through their paces, the Citizen Cup defence trials were creating their own headlines. For the first time in history, an all-women's team was competing in the America's Cup. With Kiwi yachtswoman Leslie Egnott on the helm, America Cubed went head-to-head with Dennis Connor to begin the series. After winning the start, the women sailed away from Stars and Stripes for a popular victory. Round robin 2 for the challengers began with Chris Dixon's tag up against John Bertrand's One Australia. After an even start, it was still neck and neck at the first cross.
They're going to slam dunk. That's the information going back to Chris Dixon. So it's a big dip. It's a big dip for Chris Dixon. If Dixon had held that on port, he could have gone through and hit him. So he's had to duck behind. Stand by for a slam dunk from One Australia. Slam dunk from One Australia right on top of tag. And they're going to make tag pay. So now they go through the tag. And the dirty airflow will be coming off. One Australia on the left. Dixon and his team, no alternative now but to follow the leader in all the way to the top line. So coming now to complete the first beat to windward. It's been a pretty tough encounter. One Australia there.
The Australian crew maintained that narrow lead over Dixon throughout the race for a morale-boosting win.
Now closing to the finish, this is tag out to the left. And out to the right, it's One Australia coming down. And this is the first time an Australian boat has beaten a New Zealand yacht in America's Cup 95.
Heavy fog was a feature of round robin 2, making life difficult for the crews as they navigated their way around the course. But it wasn't only the America's Cup crews that were floundering in the thick, dense fog.
There's some of the aircraft aboard the huge aircraft carrier, the nuclear warship, the Abraham Lincoln, that somehow has got through the cordon that has been set up by the US Coast Guard. Well, this probably brings the biggest spectator fleet ever to the Louis Vuitton Cup. There are 5,200 people aboard that, plus all the other people on spectator craft and official vessels out here. There might be 10,000 people out watching this race today. Well, race officials for the Louis Vuitton Challenger Series have no alternative but to postpone racing here with this giant vessel coming uninvited into the start zone area. This is a case of might is right.
Black Magic's big match of the round was against Nippon.
Team New Zealand in big trouble. They're big trouble. There's the gun, and Team New Zealand are over the line. A second shot has gone off. So Russell Cooch has got to come back. So Russell Cooch yelling out, I didn't know he was in there. Sorry, guys, and that is the end result.
John Cutler's Nippon team sailed well up the first leg to maintain their advantage over the Kiwis.
Now, will Team New Zealand be able to cross ahead on port? No, Cooch brings the bow down. He won't make it. And immediately John Cutler's responded. He's gone hunting NZL 38. It's Cutler on safaris, pushing Team New Zealand away. Wonderful stuff by John Cutler. Now Nippon has gone back through the tack. Have they got the momentum to get through to the mark? Look at Team New Zealand, they're stuttering, they're stalled. That's great stuff by Nippon. Nippon's accelerating away to the top mark. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand's been stranded.
The lead changed 4 times before Team New Zealand was finally able to establish a small advantage over the Nippon crew.
Now coming to the finish. Time running out for Nippon as Team New Zealand is closing to the finish of this thriller to keep their unbeaten record. It's a close one, and Team New Zealand take the gun.
Team New Zealand's race against One Australia was full of drama, with One Australia skipper John Bertrand suffering the ignominy of literally stepping off the boat.
But Team New Zealand was to remember the day for another reason. Although they won on the water, Team New Zealand later lost this race after One Australia successfully protested the way Team New Zealand were using Murray Jones up the mast. The Australians claimed that Murray Jones was breaking the rules by sailing outside the shear line for significant periods of time. That's the vertical line from the edge of the boat to the water. And with the mast on a 10-degree angle, that would put Jones outside the shear line. The international jury agreed, and the race and 2 points was awarded to Australia.
So at the end of an exciting second round robin, it was still Team New Zealand at the top of the leaderboard, while One Australia had slipped into second place ahead of Tag Heuer. The tempo was really picking up for the 7 Challenger syndicates as they entered round robin 3. With each race now worth 4 points, it was becoming increasingly important to win races. Nippon, with Kiwis John Cutler on the helm and Peter Evans calling tactics, soon found themselves in a tight battle with Sydney 95.
The blue spinnaker of Nippon, an uninvited guest as far as Sydney 95 is concerned, as Nippon is intruding on the air of Sydney 95. Stealing their air, and Nippon going through the jibe now. Onto the port jibe, is starting to sail right over the top of Sydney 95, stealing the Australians' air. And John Cutler and his crew are on their way.
And things were soon to get worse for this Australian crew.
Sydney 95, their pole snapped in half. Oh, what a problem for Sid Fisher and his crew. The pole just seemed to cave in under the force. Tremendous force on these boats, even in 10 knots of wind. Now the spinnaker is trawling, and the lightweight carbon pole has snapped, as they're in all sorts of trouble, as they're dragging the spinnaker in the tide. That's acting as a huge anchor. So from a tight boat race, Nippon have got the jump, and the crew aboard Sydney 95 are in more trouble than the early settlers.
The hapless Spanish team under skipper Pedro Campos were still scoreless as they lined up against Sydney 95 for the bottom of the points table clash. In a closely fought race, the Spanish wore the Australians down for a hugely popular victory.
It has been very tricky sailing in the last couple of legs. The breeze crumped out completely. Big wind shifts. And Spain have seized the opportunity to win their first race in America's Cup 95. Jubilation for Pedro Campos and his team. After 16 races, it's Bravo España.
Well, while the Spanish had something to celebrate at last, there was disaster for the French challenge when their backup boat capsized after its keel fell off. No one was hurt, but the French had a major problem on their hands, saving the stricken craft 7 miles out to sea. It was just one more crisis in a series of French catastrophes, and it added to the woes of a team that was struggling to deliver on the racecourse. It took until 4 o'clock the next morning for the salvage operation to be completed. This really summed up the nightmare of the America's Cup for France. And while the French were struggling, John Bertrand's One Australia team were going from strength to strength with their brand new boat.
Oh, this is good stuff. As the Australians are throwing tack after tack as they come in, they can't cross, they're on port, they've got to give away lee bow, and they bounce New Zealand out. The New Zealanders can't live there, as they now move back onto port. Coming back in on yet another tack. One Australia are on port. Team New Zealand have got right away on starboard. Will Australia cross? It's bow to bow. They can't do it. And they throw under starboard. And Team New Zealand have bounced back. Coming to mark number 5. Remember, they were 14 seconds behind at the last mark. There's a boat length and a bit behind it. The spectators are cheering on the boats around the top mark. This is the best match of America's Cup 95. Butte set by New Zealand going into the last leg. Pretty good by One Australia, who are jibing away and trying to break clear.
Try as they might, however, the Aussies couldn't catch the Kiwis.
The Australians have thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, at the New Zealanders on this final leg. But Team New Zealand have won the jibing duel and have won this race to grab another 4 points.
The tussle between Team New Zealand and Chris Dixon's tag crew continued at round robin 3 with an action-packed race.
There's a problem on tag. They can't get the headsail in. That starboard primary winch is not working. There's a problem. Chris Dixon wants to get out of there. They've got to go back onto starboard because that winch is not working. They can't harness the headsail. Problems for tag. Team New Zealand have seized the opportunity over tag's problems with its primary starboard winch. Up goes their spinnaker. Leg 2 closing to the bottom mark, and tag is closing. Matthew Mason and Robbie Naismith there on the crew of Team New Zealand know it. And the determined face of Chris Dixon as they are closing on Team New Zealand.
Then rounding the leeward mark, the tag crew got a tough reminder of the potential dangers of sailing these boats.
Oh, look, David Brooke is coming back aft, blood all over his face. Something has happened up forward.
If you'll give me a analysis on that when you're...
Chris Dixon said, give me an analysis on it. Kelvin Harrop and Dennis Kendall. Oh, goodness gracious. David Brook has taken a real whop to the head.
Standby tack.
Chris Dixon calling for standby tack. Business goes on as tack goes through the tack. That's Dennis Kendall putting a lot of duct tape over a bandage on the face of David Brook.
Still with you, boys.
Russell Coots and his Black Magic crew capitalised on Tag's problem to charge away for another win. And at the completion of the third round robin, it was still Team New Zealand unbeaten on the water, while the new One Australia maintained a narrow lead over Tag Heuer. Nippon were fourth. Heading into round robin 4, the Louis Vuitton Cup Challenger Series had reached a crucial stage. 7 syndicates came to San Diego with high hopes. At the end of this round, 3 would be eliminated, their dreams of winning the America's Cup dashed. With a win now worth 5 points, Team New Zealand only had to win 1 race to qualify for the semi-finals, while the French were fighting for their lives. A radical mainsail on the French boat was not enough to help Marc Pajot's crew beat the Kiwis.
The finish for Team New Zealand, and with Nippon having been beaten, Team New Zealand beat France and so qualify for the semi-final of the Louis Vuitton Cup.
Chris Dixon was also warming to the task as he lined up against Nippon's brand new boat.
So Dixon's got the overlap as they're coming in, as he's holding up, and Nippon is trying to come down. So it looks as though there's a protest coming from both boats. Y flags going up. Y flags, the yellow and red flag. Yes, both boats protesting as Nippon seems to have come down. Nippon surely are going to be in big trouble here as they're still coming up. The gun is actually gone. The race is on and they're nowhere near the committee boat. Blue flag up. It's penalty against Nippon. So John Cutler leads across. Peter Evans and John Cutler furious, yelling to anybody within earshot about the boats in the line down to the start, but there's the blue flag on the umpire's boat, and that decision's final. Here goes the penalty turn from Nippon. The breeze now up to 14 knots. David Brook on the mast. Remember, he copped the boom on his head in the last race, but he's bounced back. Had a bit of a sore neck in his rehabilitation, but he's okay now. As Nippon are coming up to the mark. And Nippon clock round at 14 seconds behind. Well, that's pretty good considering they've had to undertake a 270-degree penalty turn. There's a rip spinnaker. Tag have ripped their spinnaker, and they're dragging their Genoa in the tide as well. They've gone trawling. Nippon are closing down fast, while Tag are trying to sort out a problem.
But the Tag crew held on to beat the Japanese.
As they close to the finish, Tag set to take 5 points as they win race 1 of round robin 4 with a good win over Nippon. And the afterguard of Tag know they've been in a boat race, and they're pleased to get out of that one.
The match between unbeaten Team New Zealand and second-placed One Australia was eagerly awaited. After an even start in some of the worst conditions seen in San Diego in many months, a tacking duel ensued as the boats crashed their way to windward in the rugged seas. The boats and crews were being put to the test as Team New Zealand led around the second mark. And that's where One Australia's problems really began.
Now about halfway up, leg number 3, the second beat to windward. It's getting fresher. 18 knots, gusting 20, and the seas are getting bigger. This is becoming quite a tough test now. And Team New Zealand comfortably in front of One Australia. Now there seems a problem on One Australia. See, the backstay's gone loose and the forestay. There is definitely a problem aboard One Australia. Their rigging has gone slack. Why? The boat is turning into a banana. There's real problems here. The crew are summoning the chase boat to come alongside. There are real problems. The boat has snapped in two. The structure has given in. One Australia is taking on a lot of water. This is very serious. Well, now the crew have got to move quickly. They could be in serious trouble, and they're getting off quickly. They could be in danger if they get caught on that rig. They've got to get off the boat fast. The boat is bending. It is going down fast. Look at the three on the foredeck. What on earth are they doing? They've got to get off. There's the Team New Zealand chase boat. And they've gone along to pick up the crew. This is incredible. A Formula One racing yacht is breaking up before our eyes and sinking. This is yachting's answer to the Titanic. Look at it go down. They're panicking on getting the crew, making sure they've got the heads, but look how quickly the boat is being sucked into the Pacific. This is incredible. Now you see it, now you don't. In just over a minute from the time the crew started jumping off, the boat has disappeared. In just over 30 seconds from the time the deck was awash, One Australia has been sucked to the bottom of the Pacific.
Tragic moments. But on a day that was to become known as Black Sunday, it was not only the Australians who suffered major breakages.
On the final beat, and France looking very good here. The breeze is getting fresh though, hitting 20 knots regularly, a steady 17 to 18, and the seas are getting bigger. But they're comfortably in front of Spain, going into the final windward leeward. On a day of white caps and wet decks, Spain thrashing to windward. Here's a problem, disaster for France. They have broken their mast when in front of Spain. Absolute disaster. They're on their way to a vital 5 points, and the French hopes have crashed around their ears onto the deck. Oh, the disappointment.
And the carnage was not restricted to the challengers. On the defenders' course, Stars and Stripes bowman Ralph Stites lost his grip on the mast and was smashed against the headsail like a rag doll before becoming entangled upside down in the rigging. Stites had to be disentangled before he could be safely lowered to the deck. Meanwhile, the One Australia crew bounced back the day after their big ordeal to race their original boat. And in good Aussie humour, John Bertrand and his crew were decked out in life jackets, ready for any eventuality. On the final day of the round-robin elimination series, France and Nippon were fighting for the fourth semi-finals berth. The Japanese crew had to beat the Spanish. But what should have been an easy task just wasn't turning out that way.
What a boat race this is. The outcome of the fourth and final berth in the semi-finals hangs on this. In the shadow of the top mark for the last time, and the heat is really on. Tack after tack after tack. Those grinders will know they've been in a boat race. Here's Nippon, they're going to get through, not quite over, and they tack ahead. Liebau and Nippon is leading up to the top mark. Absolutely nothing in it. That was wonderful stuff by Nippon, who click off around the top mark, and absolutely nothing in it. 8 seconds.
On an exciting final leg, Nippon withstood the pressure to maintain their narrow lead.
Closing to the finish. Nippon with the blue spinnaker, Spain with the white spinnaker. It is very, very close. And the outcome of the semi-final berth hangs on this. Nippon is going to do it. They trailed for nearly 5 legs, and they've come from behind, and Nippon are through to the semi-finals. Relief and delight.
And so with Nippon joining Peter Blake's Team New Zealand, John Bertrand's One Australia crew and Tag Heuer in the semi-finals, it was sadly the end of a long road for the French, the Spanish, and the team from Sydney 95. For the semi-finalists, the previous 4 round robins counted for nothing. Everything went back to square one. The big news was Team New Zealand's decision to retire Black Magic 2 NZL 38 in favour of their first boat, NZL 32. Any doubts about the wisdom of this move were soon dispelled when Black Magic won its first race of the semi-finals. And now we're at the finish. Team New Zealand approaching the finishing line on day 1 of the semi-finals. They get the gun against Tag Heuer, and Team New Zealand have started the semi-finals in sensational fashion. But the Australians, also back sailing their original boat, were intent on making life hard for Russell Coutts.
It is Team New Zealand now that are trying to get some momentum as their bow pitches high, but really One Australia is heading down the line towards the pin end as we're coming up to 5 seconds.
Got to get some speed. You can't take it. 1.
So you could hear aboard New Zealand, got to get some speed, can't tack here, and there's no doubt about it that One Australia have easily won that start. They were out at the pin end of the line, they had much better momentum, and they are off. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand is stuttering and starting into it. Now they're going through the tack, and immediately One Australia is tacking right on top of them.
Here we go. They're throwing it in tack straight away, bringing the action to them.
And there's One Australia responding immediately. We'll probably see another tack from Team New Zealand very soon.
That's right, Jan. They want to get on hull speed. Now they're going straight back.
There they go, yep.
Going straight back. Now Team New Zealand are going back with, I would suggest, slightly more speed than One Australia. Grinder's pumping it out there.
So it's Team New Zealand out on the left. One Australia has got the inside berth as they close to mark number 4, 2/3 of the way through the race, completing the second windward leeward. 1 windward leeward to go. The horn in the background indicating there has been a course change. They're now sailing to 265 degrees. It was 275 at the last beat. It started at 295. There is a boat length in it. 10 seconds.
Watch for the dummy. It might be a dummy tack.
So the New Zealanders will be wanting to throw in immediately. Get in and grind it and stick it to the Australians, and the Australians will be fighting back, furious and defending hard and sticking it back to their Kiwi cousins. So it's Team New Zealand going through the tack.
Going for the tack.
Here
They've got to
goes Team
complete
New
the
Zealand
tack.
on the starboard.
Sails full.
Now expect One Australia. Now, get ready for the fireworks, folks. Coutts will throw back, Butterworth calls it before One Australia have settled in onto starboard. A low-speed tack by Team New Zealand. Here go the Aussies. They're tacking on top in the low-speed tack as well.
Can they get out of it?
Here goes Team New Zealand trying to wriggle back. They're moving back onto starboard. So it's Team New Zealand now that have moved back onto starboard. They're trying to get out of sync of the Australians.
Oh,
Bad tack.
They're
Terrible tack.
too far out. They've got something caught. But they are out of sync. They have broken the cover of One Australia. Team New Zealand have to give way if they don't think they're going to cross, or they have to do the big dip, but they'll do it okay. They are going to cross, and for the first time in this race, It is Team New Zealand in front of One Australia. What a wonderful performance in that trial of strength, that drag race, moving out to the left, on starboard. Who blinked first? It was One Australia. Team New Zealand in cd1 32 comes down to the line to maintain their unbeaten record on the water. What a race to come from behind against One Australia when the Australians led by over a minute at the first mark. But Team New Zealand kept fighting back and grinding back and reducing the deficit, and they've won it. And now they remain unbeaten in the semi-finals and grab a vital point.
After 3 days of racing, it was Team New Zealand in first place, with Tag second, One Australia third, and Nippon yet to win a race. John Cutler's Japanese crew were keen to remedy that situation when they lined up against Tag the following day.
Coming up to the start at 4, 3, 2, 1, gun. At the pin end of the line, it is Chris Dixon's Tag. Meanwhile, coming over the line now, a second or two later, is Nippon. Not quite with the same momentum as Tag.
Need to squeeze them out of here, Chris.
Close race, Nippon against Tag, about there.
Heard Peter Lester calling, we need to squeeze them out.
He's squeezing.
There we go, and they've squeezed them out.
I should go with them now. I should go with them and pin them out. Go with them now.
There they go.
Wait for them to come back. They come straight back at them. Watch it, just like a boxing match. Now he's going to tackle dip, tackle dip.
He's going to have to tag.
Listen.
Tag would have been slow then. Tag will be slow, and they'll have to have bow down to get some speed on.
He's on. We're past the lay line.
That was John Cutler calling for attack as well. Great racing here.
They're approaching the first mark. Tag with sail problems, but Nippon getting an edge in the latter stages of the first leg. But so close. Probably won't get into double figures. 6 seconds. Close boat race.
Now you have a situation where the lead boat, Nippon, have done a jibe set and done it badly. Tag Heuer have come away and done a normal bear away set and done a nice set.
Looks like Tag has taken the lead.
Tag Heuer back into it, may well be in front here as they head down the first run. Look at that.
There it goes. That looks like a main sheet.
Goodness me, what's happened there?
Main sheet block, main sheet traveller possibly. They've lost their main sheet.
I think it's probably the main sheet. What they're trying to do now is thread a new one back through and get it on the drum. Now they had 40 seconds.
There's someone physically holding the main sheet there.
Well, it looks as though they have got it under control.
They're doing a lash up there.
Coming to mark number 5. Into the last leg of the race, and it is Nippon in front. After a problem that Tag had halfway up the speed to windward with their main sheet.
Length lead. Now this is
Getting up.
they're getting ready to jibe here.
Kevin.
So here they both jibing.
Oh, they've got it clear, they've got it clear. Come on, get down, man, get down. Come on, you've got to trip that pole. He's late, he's late.
Both jibing.
Tag is right over the top of Nippon. The pole's gone on Tag.
We're headed, Chris. You must almost have it now.
Now they've got the pole back. The Spinnaker pole was virtually vertical. Nippon tried to jibe to windward of Tag.
Peter, they left it too late. They had a lovely position to jibe on Tag Heuer's air there. They left it too late. Not a good jibe. And by the look from what we've got, Tag Heuer have got a fresh air in front of Nippon.
Coming to the finish, and Tag are set to win a thriller. They have come from behind against Nippon and take the gun. There is laughing, delight, and relief aboard Tag. They got out of jail, and Nippon crossed the line 23 seconds behind.
But Chris Dixon lost to John Bertrand's One Australia in their next encounter, leaving the two of them tied with 3 wins each. Tag faced Black Magic on day 7 of the semi-finals.
It's going to be fascinating. Here comes Tag. Chris Dixon bringing it up into the wind now. He's trying to kill time as he goes through the tack. Gone on to port. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand also coming up into the breeze as they're going through the tack as well. This is marvellous. This is 18, 17, 16, 15. Very competitive. Joey Allen waving to Coots. Kevin Batten urging Dixon on. Tag's gone back on the starboard. Team New Zealand down to Louis in the head. 2, 1, the gun. Both boats back from the line by 10 metres. Tag in the windward position. Team New Zealand protesting. White flag gone up, green flag. Business as usual. Get on with it. So it is Team New Zealand down to Lewis. And ahead. Tag in the windward position.
With a shape.
Team New Zealand, NZL 32, Black Magic.
1.5 legs.
Closing on mark number 1 with a comfortable lead of 6 to 7 boat lengths over Tag Heuer, NZL 39. In this battle of the New Zealand boats, it's the 3rd time they've matched up in the semi-finals of the Louis Vuitton Cup. Into the final end, around the top mark now goes Tag. At 51 seconds is the advantage to NZL 32 over NZL 39. The black boat ahead of the grey boat.
Oh, wow. This is what we were talking about. Exactly what we were talking about. Here we have a breakdown. First time we've seen it. Now it'll be a bareheaded change. Everyone forward. I don't know what they've blown, but it's exactly what we've been talking about. Gear failure is a major.
And the mainsail.
And the mainsail. What's happened, Peter? What's happened?
Well, we can't see what's up. We know we can see their headsail down. They are bareheaded, and Tag is starting to eat into the advantage that Team New Zealand had made on the first 2 legs. So it's scramble, scramble. We are 300 metres away. Up goes the new headsail, and Tag is really closing in. Here's an opportunity for Chris Dixon and Peter Lester and the crew of Tag to seize on a problem aboard Team New Zealand.
I don't think they've changed the headsail. I think what happened is the halyard blew, and my goodness, what a recovery.
Yes, they must have hooked up a new halyard and rehoisted.
So it's Black Magic NZL 32 coming down to the line to take their 7th successive gun in the Louis Vuitton Cup semi-final.
Is this new or what?
And the gun they're going to take now means that New Zealand has a boat in the Louis Vuitton Cup final for the 3rd time.
Though, is it?
KZ7 back in 1987, NZL 20 in 1992, and now Black Magic goes through to the Louis Vuitton Cup final. 7 wins is enough to do it.
With Team New Zealand through to the Louis Vuitton Cup final, the battle for the remaining place in the finals came down to this race between Tag Heuer and One Australia on day 8.
3, 2, 1, gun. Oh my.
Well, right on the button out of the pinion. Good start by Tag. Plenty of momentum. It is just 4 to 5 knots. Very, very light. An easy seaway. So this is going to be the all-important first cross. And certainly it looks comfortable at this stage. Remember, Tag have to give away here. They are on port, but they should be able to cross comfortably.
Now, Peter, the interesting one here is now, will Tag Heuer attack on them and go back to the left, or will they cross and take the right? Now, it looks as though they're not going... It looks as though they're going to give One Australia the left. I do find that strange.
Coming in on converging tags, this crucial cross. It is One Australia on port. They have to give way. It is Tag Heuer on starboard with right-of-way. The separation down to 100 metres. That is getting very, very close. One Australia is looking good. They've certainly closed the game up. They've crossed, they've got it. One Australia's in front. One Australia has hit the front.
Well, we're back now with Tag Heuer, and it looks as though they've got a few problems on board, Jan.
Yes, it looks like the Genoa halyard's gone. They're obviously doing a head sail change. Something's happened there.
Yeah, but they're bareheaded, Jan. Absolutely bareheaded. They've got big problems.
They have. This'll be it for them. They didn't need this to happen, and it looks like they're rehoisting this. Maybe exactly what happened with Team New Zealand yesterday.
What a disaster. This could be the knife through the heart.
Yes, they're rehoisting that same Genoa, so it must have been a halyard problem that they had.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them up on the foredeck.
Very, very sad for Tag. They had made a gain on that last leg.
This has been a day to remember for John Bertrand, Rod Davis and the One Australia crew. It was a vital race for them, and one which they looked as though they'd let slip away in the early stages when Tag Heuer led. But now it's One Australia to the line. They've led from the first mark rounding. They get the gun now, and it is One Australia who have jumped ahead of Tag Heuer. Handshakes all round because John Bertrand and his crew realised that now, barring a major upset, they are through to the final of the Louis Vuitton Cup against Team New Zealand. Well, there was no upset for Chris Dixon, whose America's Cup dreams were finally dashed when One Australia easily defeated the scoreless Nippon on the final day to clinch their place in the Louis Vuitton finals. Nippon had failed in their second attempt on the America's Cup, and so it was goodbye to them and also to Chris Dixon's Tag Heuer team, who made it quite clear who they were supporting for the finals. While the challengers now had their two finalists, the Defender Series was about to be turned on its head. Kevin Mahaney's Pact 95 syndicate had qualified for the finals, while the other place had come down to a sudden death race between the women on Mighty Mary and Dennis Connor's Stars and Stripes. Well, when the women's crew finally did win the race, they discovered their celebrations were premature. The three defence syndicates had signed a deal before the crucial race to ensure all three boats raced in the Defender finals. An innovation of America's Cup 95 was the introduction of a keel reveal day, giving everyone the opportunity to see the previously top-secret keels. And with the secrets of the deep revealed, Peter Blake's Team New Zealand lined up against 1983 America's Cup winner John Bertrand and his team on One Australia in a best-of-9 series.
And it is Team New Zealand still out from the bottom of the committee boat, as both boats now are on starboard. They're making their shot to the line now. One Australia in the middle of the line. They're building up speed. Joey Allen is urging Coots, come on, Russell, bring it up. One Australia's right on the button. Team New Zealand's a little far back. One Australia, brilliant start, right on the middle of the line. Meanwhile, it is Team New Zealand up by the committee boat. At least they've got the favoured right-hand side, but they were a little back from the line.
I counted it 4 points off, as we say, 4 to 5 seconds late, but they do have the windward advantage. They did want starboard end, and they are in a controlling position because One Australia cannot tag, so they have got control at the start, but they were a little late. Now it's right now is the test. The whole America's Cup right now here has One Australia done enough changes to give them the horsepower to live with the mighty Team New Zealand.
So here they're coming again. 2 boat lengths from Brad Butterworth.
It's interesting that One Australia elected pretty early on here to break into attacking duel. I was very interested to see coming off the line there what the speed differential would be. Of course, in this breeze earlier, Team New Zealand had a significant advantage, and with all the structural work that's been done to One Australia, it seems to me the bow has been lengthened and lowered, as well as the alterations to the back end. You would think that One Australia would have hung in there and see if they've got the horsepower to hang in with Team New Zealand.
All right, so it's One Australia now tacking away from that, directly in the dirty exhaust.
What a fantastic race we've seen. Look at all those zigzags up the middle of the course. They've done more than 20 or around 27 tacks heading up this first leg alone. So I'm sure those grinders are getting pretty worn out. Team New Zealand been covering nicely, and One Australia, to their credit, have done a tremendous job of keeping the action in the middle of the course and the race alive. But it seems that in the last 5 minutes or so, the black boat has been able to pull out some of its trademark extra horsepower and has stretched out to around a 5 or 6 boat length lead.
Losing on the mark there. So the end of the first leg in this Louis Vuitton Cup first race sees Team New Zealand approaching the mark ahead of One Australia. It's been a fascinating first beat. Team New Zealand getting a grand start, as did the Australians, but New Zealand having the advantage throughout. The Australians now to the mark, and this is the advantage that New Zealand have over them, 48 seconds. So this has really been an amazing first leg for New Zealand. Having trailed Black Magic for the entire race, a torn spinnaker on the final leg was the last straw for the Australians. Australia had a small rip in their spinnaker, and now, Peter Lester, it's a big one.
Well, I can't imagine their sailmakers will be very happy about that. It's, I would have thought, given the size of the rip and where they were, it would have been nice to have done a peel early on, but what's happened now, the sail has ripped in half, and that means that a possible very good sail now may be destroyed, and I do feel for their sailmakers and their organisation, because they're the guys that have got to put it back together.
I think they've ripped the new one too. There must be something snagging that on the bottom spreader, probably, when they pull it up. And they've got a rip now near the luff of this new sail. And I agree totally with what Peter Lester was saying there. Why on earth, when they had a rip that wasn't a major, as we went away saying it was not a major, they couldn't have just done a peel and then jibe? Why stress it out by jibing? Because what they've done is not only ruined the sail, but they've lost a lot of time. Not that they have any chance of winning the race, but now in all the pandemonium they don't look good at all, and now they're going to split the next one. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly, and
what a way to go.
Pull that one down. That rip was in a high stress part of the sail. It was coming out of the tack.
That's right.
And this is a complete mess here now. They've got 2 sails,
completely ripped.
Both of them destroyed, and
the wheels are coming off here.
Russell Coots bringing Black Magic in ZL32, Team New Zealand down to the finish of race 1 of the final of the Louis Vuitton Cup for 1995. This has been an impressive performance.
It's been like you, Tom. Take Gary Johnson out to dinner several times a week.
By Team New Zealand.
Okay, good work.
So that is good work for Team New Zealand. And they go 1 up over One Australia in the final with a big lead. Easily their biggest win in the 7 races so far.
One Australia then coming to the finish line of their first race against New Zealand, and it's a major deficit, nearly 5 minutes. A grand victory for Team New Zealand. Still at the after-race press conference, John Bertrand was offering no excuses.
Well, we had a pretty shitty day today. Couldn't have got any worse for the team, and we look forward to tomorrow.
Rockstep, 5, 4. He's slowing it up. He's slowing it up.
It looks as though they're both going to be trying to claim the right hand. Team New Zealand bringing the bow up. Here goes One Australia through the tack. So now One Australia's gone through the tack. So the boys of Brad Butterworth counting down, 35. So One Australia high in the windward position now. They're directly up from the stern of the committee boat by 50 metres. Team New Zealand directly down from the committee boat.
22, 21,
20 seconds, Brad Butterworth counting. Team New Zealand down to Lewitt in ahead. Joey Allen urging Coots on. His arm is waving, it's flapping him down, bring the bow down. The bow man, One Australia. One Australia right up on the line. The start of the resale of race 2 abandoned from yesterday because of no puff. There is a good breeze of 260 from 7 knots. It is One Australia up by the committee boat in the windward position. Both boats on starboard. Team New Zealand down to Lewitt and ahead. We've got 3 men on the foredeck, including Alan Smith, the New Zealand bowman. Right up on the bow, so they're going to start changing Team New Zealand directly over the top of them. That'll be 3 or 4 boat lengths.
Yes. Now what will happen here is Team New Zealand will smack on them. Now One Australia will be unable to tack away until they've got the sail up. So they're going to have to live in dirty air. Now this is the problem of having the wrong sail up and in the wrong groove. They've got to live here now. They've got to sail through this. This is bad, bad, bad.
John Bertrand gazing around this course here off San Diego and knowing that if he turns around to his right he'll see New Zealand in front of Australia. So it's One Australia still trailing against New Zealand in this effectively the second race of the best of 9 series.
He got it in this time.
It's been a comprehensive display by Black Magic in this resale of race 2 of the Louis Vuitton Cup. They've had an edge in boat speed in a race sail between 6 and 14 knots.
And
the boat has been very, very well sailed. The gun to Team New Zealand, who easily beat One Australia and have gone 2-0 up in the Louis Vuitton Cup final.
2-0 down. Rod Davis on the helm of One Australia came out fighting for race 3.
So Team New Zealand are starting to lead back in.
They're going to hook them. Watch it now, watch it now. This is where the penalty could happen. Team New Zealand must get out of the way.
Davis is underneath. He's luffing up. Davis is aggressive. He's starting to push the New Zealand boat. The New Zealanders have lost momentum. One Australia's got more momentum.
They have, and Team New Zealand are early here.
They've got to kill time. Davis is pushing and controlling. He's got Coots. The New Zealanders are in trouble here. They are 10 metres back from the line. Joey Allen right on the bow. Coots bringing the bow back, trying to kill time. Time on distance.
They're early.
New Zealanders are early. They're on starboard. One Australia on starboard, heading up to the pin end of the line. Now Joey Allen's urging Russell Coots up. So it's Team New Zealand now on port, heading towards the committee boat. So there's the gun, and right on the button at the pin end is One Australia. Excellent stuff by Rod Davis, who pushed and shoved Team New Zealand up towards the line. They were a boat length back from the line. So Team New Zealand lost the momentum. They were stalled, and all Russell Coots could do was get out of that and move on to port. Meanwhile, here's One Australia trying to nail home the advantage, as One Australia now over at the pin end of the line have come back onto port.
At the first cross, Black Magic, though, had closed in on One Australia.
Lee bow by One Australia. They're not going to cross it. One Australia lee bow. So Team New Zealand have got the power on there. The bow up to windward of the stern. They're not going to live there, Chris, surely.
There you go. I'm sure they're going to bail out of here. That's the first time. That's the first time you've seen that. First time that these two have met, but One Australia have been able to take an advantage to Team New Zealand.
Let's be careful not to overtrim that.
Team New Zealand have had to bail out of that position.
One Australia had the early advantage, but again, an awesome display by Black Magic. Means they hoist first. No sneaking. One Australia coming to the top mark now.